There's an awful lot of long distance rods on the market today, and there's, it seems to be a bit of a bandwagon that a lot of people have jumped on. I've used an awful lot of these rods, and this is definitely the best one bar none. If I thought there was a better rod out there, I'd be using it. Okay. One thing that sticks out for me above everything else with this is just the durability of it and the amount of punishment that it will take. And with fishing long sessions over weeks and months of the year, it just keeps going. There's no loss of test curve, there's no issues of any description with it. It just plays fish and casts a long way, which is it's the best performer of any of the long distance rods I've seen. Most of the other ones are just too stiff for me. What you'll find is with that softer tip section is it's a very, very usable long range rod. I'd advise you to learn how to cast, get a day out with Mark Hutchinson or Terry Edmonds booked up so they can show you how to get the most out of a rod like this. But for me, it's the most usable long range tool that I've ever come across. And like I say, I've used most of them in my time. Okay, the reels that I use, I keep reiterating the fact that I fish a lot, and I've tried all these ultralight reels that you get about the place nowadays, and from most manufacturers they've got some high performance tool that's engineered out of some special alloy or whatever, but I just kept coming back to these. They cast beautifully. There's a lovely long spool there, line zips off the lip. There's no dodgy angle on the lip or anything like that. It's just a beautiful tool to use, and above all for me it's just bomb proof. So that's the Daiwa Tournament 6000T. Again, it just goes on and on and on. I never get any bother with them. I've never had them serviced. They just take all the abuse I can throw at them and keep coming back for more. So again, another essential piece of kit for me. Make a little bit of noise, which I can live with. When you consider the overall performance, is not a problem for me. Obviously, when we're using heavy leads, you need to have a leader. It's obviously, and that leader should, very roughly speaking, be able to hold, it's 10 pounds for every ounce of lead that you're using, roughly speaking. So the leaders that I use are these ESP tapered leaders, and the main point with these is most leaders that are on the market today are just way too long, and ESP have brought these out and they've made them 9 meters, which is about 6 or 7 meters shorter than your average leader that's on the market. It goes from 45 pound down to 15, okay, and it's got the 45 pound there's 2 meters of that, then it tapers down to 2 meters of 15 pound. So there's a very short section of 45. You want that off the reel and gone as quickly as possible, because that's going to slow the lead down quite significantly. And that's where I find that most other leaders that go on for, you got the long heavy section, just slows the lead down and reduces the performance of your cast. Again, you can tie a very tidy back-to-back grinner knot. It's nice fine diameter at the end with a 15 pound. And today I'm using a line, it's called Awashima. It's a new thing we've been playing around with. I'll be using the ESP Synchro a lot in 18 pound as well, because on Savo we fish there's some very, very heavy underwater obstacles and very heavy carp, and I found that better in a bullying situation. But where I'm fishing today, I was told to expect the unexpected, and there may have been some very long chucks involved. So we've cut down to a 0.32 mainline, the Awashima, which actually breaks at 26 pounds. So I'd rather keep a fairly hefty diameter. I mean, a lot of people go down to 0.28 for distance casting. I find with big fish, you need to have a bit of beef on the line, and this stuff at 0.32 is absolutely perfect. And then moving swiftly on to the lead, this one my mate Jamie does for us. It's a 5-ounce tawny that's coated for us by Custom Angling Solutions. And then we have the ESP ejector type lead clip, which is about the safest. That lead's coming off every time you get a bite. You never get one of these back ever, which I find is exactly what I want. Once the lead does its job. It gets the rig out there and helps set the hook. You know, I don't want it in play anymore. And I find also with these heavy leads, the fish come straight up in the water because they're running away from the resistance of it. So again, be careful with leads like this. A lot of people find that they'll cast better if they can move a 4 faster than a 5, and most distance casters are unanimous in the fact that they seem to be better with a 4 1/4 than anything else. Personally, I don't know whether it's just me. I like a 5-ounce lead. A lot of the time I'm fishing big pits, it's windy and you need that lead to stay on course, and it just stays on course better than, you know, any of the 4s. But again, you need to check with the manufacturer of your rod that they're designed to take 5-ounce leads, because these will break rods if they're not up to it, okay? Which is another reason that I stick with the Century FMA. It can take it. It casts better with 5 ounces than with 4, because I'm casting overhead most of the time, and that means you haven't got time. You know, you're not swinging the rod round from the side or any of the other sort of, you're not doing the Unitech cast with it laid on the deck. It's just an overhead thump wherever I'm fishing, because there's no room to do anything else. And that loads the rod faster. 5 ounces loads the rod faster, and off it goes. So that's more or less my setup for long range fishing. We can look at the sort of rigs we use as well, because again, that's important. I try not to sacrifice too much finesse, because just because they're out there doesn't mean they're not paying attention to your terminal setup. They're just as finicky out there as they are under your feet. So if you end up using something industrial because just so it doesn't tangle, it's going to cost you fish. So we'll have a look at that rig in a minute, and yeah, but that's the overall setup covered. This is the type of rig I use for my long range fishing. It's a fairly short rig, but it needs to be, especially for the type of fish I fish for. You know, I'm purely fishing for large carp. That rig I've found needs to be at least 8.5 inches long from the bend of the hook to where I connect it to the swivel. It's a fairly stiff material, CSP 2-tone, which I find is, you know, it's soft enough to sit over most substrates without sort of looping up off the bottom. And we assist that further with some putty just to hold that down. Overshotted 15mm hook bait. Obviously there's variations in hook baits that we use throughout the year, and a size 10 hook with just an ESP rig shrink kicker on it. And I use this particular kicker, this particular rig shrink as well, because I find it stiff. You can form it into any shape or pattern that you want and it will stay like that. Most shrink tubing you find nowadays is hopeless, because it either won't form the exact shape that you want, or if you do actually get the shape that you want out of it, you'll tend to find that after a couple of casts you end up in a situation where you've got to redo it, and that's just no good at all. So that stays the same for as long as I want to use it. Okay. All right. What you need to do to be very, very sure of, particularly when your lead's on or near the deck when you're casting, is that your hook point's protected. You could use a little PVA foam nugget or a soluble foam nugget, but to be honest with you, what I found is, I mean, if I do a lot of winter fishing and as the water temperatures drop, those things take so long to dissolve. If they dissolve at all, even, you know, some of the proprietary brands that you see, some very famous brands, just take way too long to come off, in my opinion. So what I do routinely now to protect my hook point as I'm casting, and also keep it clear of any crap as it hits the deck, we just use a little tiny sliver of PVA tape. You nip that off, and I just double it over a couple of times, give it a little twist through the point of the hook, or put the point of the hook through it even, and then just tape it up. so that you're getting a layer of PVA over the point. And it's just a bit of a licking stick at the end. Holds it securely in place. And the beauty of it is it's also very, very streamlined. You can see that's not going to cause any excess wind resistance, which you'd get with an ordinary foam nugget. So that's it, protected. Today we're not actually fishing at what I'd call ultra long range, which is kind of over 130 metres. We're only fishing at 90 metres out there today, but I'll just run through the basic technique of how you'd go about putting that full-blooded long distance cast together, okay? Most important thing when you're using a leader of any description is to get the leader knot right at the back of the spool, okay? And then just wind your rest of your leader back on. And one of the most important things about long range casting is getting the length of the drop. That's the distance between the lead and your tip ring, absolutely spot on. And what I find with these rods is you want the lead round by the spigot somewhere. So if we just set that up, the other thing is you need to get your spool about halfway out. Too far out with some reels you're likely to kind of bend them. These are pretty bomb proof, but again, just about halfway out is perfect for me anyway. That way you don't get too much line hitting these line guards as the line's coming off the spool, which would just slow it down for you. Again, so you just line it up. So it's about at the spigot. You need to make sure that your clutch is wound down really tight, so there's absolutely no chance of the line slipping in your finger. And again, do yourself a favour and use a finger stall. You might have ultra tough fingers, but you know, I said that until I had a braid cut on one, and it goes right through and really hurts, so you just don't need it. I've also found with the finger stalls that you get on the market today, they wear very quickly. You can see there's a hole in this one, but the stuff on the back's actually a lot thicker, so I just spin them round and I can get almost another 6 months wear out of one finger stall when I was going through about 3 a session. So again, finger, just holding the line there gently. There's no need to pin it to the blank. If you do it that way, what you tend to find is you can throw a coil of line off of there, have a frap up, and you've lost another lead and another rig, and there's another leader out there. If you've got another whole setup out there fishing, fish picks it up, it'll get rid of the lead, but you've got a trailer, and it just causes so much grief for everyone. If you can avoid it, don't do it. It's about sort of fishing sensibly and not causing any grief for anybody else. Need a fairly sturdy grip. This is a nice dry platform. If you're on mud, you need a set of footwear with a fairly hefty grip on it, so you don't end up slipping in or doing yourself an injury. And it's really about just your right arm or left arm, if you're left-handed, needs to be straight up in the air, okay? And you just look around, you find your target, and you lean right back. And it's about having balance, so do this in a position that you're comfortable with, okay? Now, normally, you step right through, and then, as you move the lead, you whip down with this left hand, okay? Keeping in a straight line, and when your rod's pointing at about that angle, which is about 45 degrees, the lead's released, you've picked a point in the sky above your target, and that's when you let go, okay? Today I haven't got to cast that far, so really all I need to do is just lean back slightly till I feel that lead touch the deck. All sorted. Nice easy flick, that's got 90 metres, no bother at all. Shows you what a proper long range setup can do. A lot of rods you'd have had to really hit that to get that distance. This just makes it dead easy.